Welcome to the applicant webinar for the Doctoral Training Consortia associated with high intensity needs. Please note that information in the notice inviting applications for 84325H, Doctoral Training Consortia, will be summarized during the webinar. I strongly encourage you to read the notice carefully. Please also review the recorded webinar titled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for additional information related to submitting an application to an OSEP grant competition. This webinar is also posted on the OSEP Ideals at Work website. This webinar focuses on the absolute priority and competitive preference priorities, selection criteria, and some additional information specific to this particular notice. The purposes of the Personnel Development Preparation Program are to 1, help address state-identified needs for personal preparation in special education, early intervention, related services, and regular education to work with children, including infants and toddlers with disabilities, and 2, ensure that those personnel have the necessary skills and knowledge derived from practices that have been determined through scientifically based research and experience to be successful in serving those children. The purpose of this priority is to support doctoral training consortia to prepare leaders in special education, early intervention, or related services who are well qualified for and can act effectively in leadership positions as researchers and preparers of special education, early intervention, or related services personnel in institutions of higher education, or as leaders in traditional and non-traditional public school systems, such as state educational agencies, charter management organizations, charter school authorizers, lead agencies, local educational agencies, private school networks, parochial schools, early intervention services, programs, or schools. The 3258 absolute priority addresses the needs of children with disabilities with high intensity needs, which refers to children with a complex array of disabilities or the needs of children with these disabilities requiring intensive individualized intervention. Next, the priority requirements for the absolute priority will be discussed, which include significance, project services, project evaluation, and required project assurances. For significance, applicants need to address the significance of the proposed project, which include data demonstrating need for leadership personnel, data demonstrating the potential success of the project, expected scholar competencies, and the conceptual framework of the program. For quality of project services, applicants must address how a minimum of 28 high-quality scholars will be recruited and retained, how the project is designed to promote the competencies needed by leadership personnel, partnerships, how the components of the project prepare scholars to improve child outcomes in different settings, how scholars will be mentored, how the project will support scholars' acquisition of skills related to communication, networking, and collaboration, and how the project will be designed to promote opportunities for scholars to work with other faculty and scholars from other universities within the consortium. For project evaluation, applicants must address how the project will evaluate whether the stated goals and objectives of the project have been met, including both project and scholar outcomes. Describe the evaluation methodologies that will be employed, how data will be used on an ongoing basis, how the consortium model will be evaluated, how project outcomes will be disseminated, demonstrate sufficient resources are dedicated to evaluation, and assure the evaluation results are reported in annual and final reports. There are a number of program requirements applicants must meet. A consortium is comprised of at least 6 IHEs with existing doctoral programs and includes at least one doctoral program that has not received funding under 325D or 325H in the preceding 5 years. The consortium must establish policies, procedures, standards, and guidelines for the consortium in areas such as recruitment and selection of scholars who will be supported by the consortium, distribution of tuition and stipends among participating scholars, fiscal management, measurement and reporting of scholar progress, contingency planning in case of scholar or consortium faculty losses, governance of the consortium, and a sustainability plan. Projects also must ensure that the project is structured so it will allow the scholars to complete the program by the end of the project. Applicants should also provide assurances scholars will not be selected based on race or ethnicity. Scholars must be informed of service obligation requirements and sign pre-scholarship agreements and exit agreements. Disbursement of scholarships is the cost of attendance to the doctoral program. Obtaining prior approval before enrolling additional scholars. Scholars will attend full-time. And a minimum of 65% of the total budget must go towards scholar support. Scholars should also not be required to work as a condition of receiving support. Applicants must ensure that they will submit annual data as required on scholars for the purposes of scholar service obligation and program reporting requirements. Scholar accomplishments must be reported in the annual and final reports. Must meet the statutory requirements of 662E through H of IDEA. Ensure non-discrimination requirements are followed. Ensure the 10% matching support is met. And faculty and scholars will participate in OSEP-supported cross-project opportunities. Applicants must make sure that project websites are accessible. Grantees must post progress on the project website. Budget for attendance for the project director's meeting. And budget for 2 in-person meetings for scholars and faculty each year. And dedicate sufficient resources for financial oversight and monitoring. Please refer to 34 CFR 75.127 through 75.129 for additional information on group applications. According to the regulations, 1 member of the group will apply. The applicant for the group is legally responsible for the use of funds and meeting requirements. And each member of the group is legally responsible for carrying out activities it agrees to perform and use funds in accordance with agreements and requirements. Once again, please refer to the regulations for additional information. In these next slides, I will go over the selection criteria used by reviewers in evaluating each application. Under significance, applicants can receive a maximum of 10 points. There are 3 sub-criteria. Applicants should address the need for the leadership personnel being prepared, the importance of the outcomes, and the conceptual framework underlying the consortium. Under quality of project services, applicants can receive a maximum of 45 points, and there are a number of sub-criteria. Applicants should address how the project will ensure equal access for traditionally underrepresented groups. In addition, applicants should address the quality and intensity of the project that will lead to improvements in practice among the recipients, the extent to which the project's proposed constitutes a coherent, sustained program, and that the services reflect up-to-date knowledge from research and effective practice. Under quality of project evaluation, applicants can receive a maximum of 25 points. There are 4 sub-criteria. Applicants should address the evaluation methodology, the outcomes to be achieved, performance measures that are related to the intended outcomes, and how the evaluation approach will allow for timely guidance. Under quality of the management plan and adequacy of resources, applicants can receive a maximum of 20 points. There are 5 sub-criteria. Applicants should address qualifications of key personnel, the management plan, time commitments of key personnel, and the adequacy of resources and the proposed budget. The competitive preference priorities will be discussed next. Please note, department staff will assign competitive preference priority points to applications meeting 1 or more of the competitive preference priorities, up to a total of 10 points. Under competitive preference priority 1, an applicant can receive up to 3 points for proposing a training consortium that prepares leadership personnel to address the needs of children who are deaf and hard of hearing with high-intensity needs. An applicant in the narrative should describe the opportunities provided to scholars that will promote scholar competencies in advancing the field on effective intervention and services. Please note that only 1 application will receive points under competitive preference priority 1. The application that receives the highest score based on the selection criteria and addresses this competitive preference priority will receive additional points. Under competitive preference priority 2, an applicant can receive up to 5 additional points for additional matching support. Matching support must be addressed in the budget and budget narrative. Once again, there is a 10% matching support requirement. Under competitive preference priority 3, applicants can receive 2 additional points for including at least 2 doctoral preparation programs that have not received funding under 84325D or 84325H at any point in the preceding 5 fiscal years. Some reminders related to the budget. A minimum of 65% of the budget must go toward scholar support. For applicants applying under absolute priority 1, there is a 10% matching support requirement. For training grants, there is a restricted indirect cost rate of 8%. There are budget limits. We will not make an award exceeding $1,300,000 for a single budget period of 12 months. Other important information for applicants include eligible applicants are institutes of higher education and private nonprofit organizations. There is a recommended 50-page limit to your project narrative. It is also recommended you double-space the narrative and use at least a 12-point font. OSEP anticipates up to making 3 awards. Thank you, and if you have additional questions, please email me at celia.rosenquist@ed.gov, or you can call me at 202-245-7373.